what is it like? I know that you have a girlfriend who also has the same diagnosis. What is that? What's the dynamics of that relationship like? Because it could either be like, oh, you guys are too similar, so it won't work out, or you guys are so similar that it does work out. How what is
Yeah.
that like?
So I kind of think of psychopathy. I think that there are kind of like stages, like real loose stages, and not everybody kind of goes through them to the same degree, but I think that it kind of helps to conceptualize a little bit. And there are two main stages in adulthood that I think are like really important to kind of highlight. One of them is called, I call it the playground stage. Actually, another psychopath called it this. Playground stage is like they're at their peak psychopathic behaviors is probably a good way to put it, and it usually is happening like in their early 20s, kind of the 20s, like throughout the 20s, maybe until the late 20s or into the early 30s. And during that time period, they're super carefree, like really literally nothing can bother them. They're like Teflon, like everything seems to kind of just run off them. They burn through relationships and jobs and educational professional opportunities, and they just don't care. What is it like, well, I don't know if you swear on this channel. Do you? Probably not.
Not really, but people have, so you can. I've done it by
Yeah,
accident, so
I'll use the not swear word, but like no F's were given, like
yeah.
they're truly the embodiment of that, where it's just like they almost couldn't care, about the things around them. In fact, yeah, they can't care about the things around them. So it's like a super carefree existence. It's very hedonistic. It's very kind of like what's happening today, and like very, they don't like to be bored. That's the one thing that they really kind of fear, maybe, is boredom, because they feel it like so painfully, like worse than being sick, like by a million or something. So they're
Mhm.
constantly chasing that next, chasing the dragon,
It's
chasing
a
that
lot of
next,
thrill-seeking
novel.
behaviors.
Yeah, novel seeking, yeah, to the nth degree. So in the playground, that's kind of how they are, and they're really like cold during that time period, like not connected to other people, like zero connected, not very self-reflective, not very self-aware, like kind of like have you ever seen these movies where like a child becomes like an adult, but they're like a child's mind in an adult body?
Yeah.
There was that movie Big with Tom Hanks where that was true. That's a
Oh,
little
I
bit
haven't
like
seen
what
that
they
in a
are.
long time. I know
Yeah,
who
they
you're
have
talking
like,
about.
yeah, like the selfish mind, selfish kind of childish mind. Like when you're a child, you're like, oh, when I'm older, I'll just do this like every day, eat ice cream every day or whatever. And that's kind of who they are. They're just
Sounds
like,
like me.
yeah, yeah, yeah. They'll like binge drink, they'll do weird drugs or like weird, like sex things, or just kind of like have no inhibitions about anything. They're just totally freewheeling is a good way to put it. And like things do happen to them, but it just doesn't seem to affect them. And I think it's kind of gets at something that's like the way that psychopaths attend to things with their attention is unique. They're like able to hyper focus on certain things and compartmentalize other things like out of their mind really easily, so that they're never like, oh, I can't stop thinking about X. They're like really good about stop thinking about X and then just move to start thinking about Y. The one thing that's a little bit difficult for them is, let's say they're obsessed with Y, then it's hard for them to stop being obsessed with Y. But they're really good about compartmentalizing and being like, okay, that failed relationship, I'll just never think about it again. So they're never sad about breakups or
It's
things
like out
like
of
that.
sight, out of mind, and they're really good
Yes,
to do
it's completely that way. And because they're able to do that, then they're another characteristic of psychopaths is they don't learn from experience. So they'll keep making the same mistake multiple times. So when I met my girlfriend, she was at the tail end of the playground stage. And when I first met her, I was like, okay, she's like, party hard. So okay, that's just where she is right now, and there wasn't really that much of a connection. But then she went through like a lot, is a good way to put
it.
it. So 8 months later, she was in the next stage, which I would call the reckoning. And it is what it sounds like. It's just like all these things that you've kind of been putting off, suddenly you realize, oh, I'm in debt, and
Yeah.
I've torched these family relationships, and now I can't even go back to the city because people hate me so much or whatever. So she was just starting kind of the reckoning, and she was just going to see a therapist. And so I don't think we could have gotten along too much if she was just like all in the playground stage. Is because honestly, she would say this. I'd come out to visit her and she'd be like, "Can you tell me what you're wearing so I can recognize you?"
Yeah,
Can you imagine your girlfriend says that to you?
yeah, yeah,
Because she just, it was out of sight, out of mind, still kind of still going on with her a little bit. So she just wasn't that interested. She's not that interested in like me or my feelings, and just didn't have like that much energy to invest. But she, as she kind of kept going through the reckoning, she became like more interested in those types of things. So I think that it kind of depends. I don't think it's like psychopaths are necessarily meant for each other. But now that we're both kind of like, I would say she's mostly through the reckoning. And then so we're on the other side, whatever you call it, or something. I guess I'm okay, you're okay is what I call
yeah.
it.